Hey, all you beautiful people, it is me. It is Goose. This is On With the Show. Thank you for coming back and watching another episode. And today's topic, we're going to talk about Howard Stern. And I think there's a little confusion because I heard last week he was supposedly dead, or not dead as in he's unalive, but his show is dead. That they've canceled his show. But one article I read just way past weekend kind of paints a different story. We're going to get into it in just a little bit. But if you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel, bang the bell for notifications, bang, bang, bang the bell for notifications, so you always know when new videos are uploaded. And give me a big like on the video because it does help me with the algorithm and to get this show out to other people. And yes, let's get into it. I saw this from the New York Post. Howard Stern staffers prepping for show's demise, withholding best material as future uncertain. This is written by Chris Harris, published August 9th, 2025. And it's a lengthy article, so stay with me here. The writing has been on the wall for well over a year now, so that SiriusXM wouldn't be renewing Howard Stern's colossal contract, and his employees have been taking advantage, coasting on the clock and trolling for new gigs, two current show staffers told the Post. This week, reports surfaced that the Howard Stern show's 19-year run at SiriusXM was nearing its end, with his $500 million contract expiring at the end of the year, and an audience that's apparently dwindled from 20 million a day to 125,000. Ouch. Some of the show's writers have been their best jokes for themselves to use after the show's eventual demise, one worker said. Most of us have been coasting at work the last year because we know he's retiring, whether by choice or because he's forced out, admitted one of the longtime staffers who dished to the Post this week. Stern's employees have been putting out feelers for other showbiz gigs, the two said. It's been hard because the industry in New York City is so incestuous that so you don't know who's talking to who, the first employee said. I'm just hanging in there until this is all sorted out, and then I will take some time to unwind after all this, the staffer continued. I'm a fan, and it's been a big part of my life for so long, but it hasn't been fun for a while. Before taking his annual summer break, Stern, 71, hinted in staff meetings his retirement is nigh. The staffers said they've only heard rumors regarding Stern's future at SiriusXM, nothing definitive from management or the self-proclaimed king of all media himself. The looming end of the once mighty radio personality comes after a sharp change in Stern's politics. The radio host used to maintain a friendship with President Trump, but came out against him when he ran against Hillary Clinton in 2015. Once a strong supporter of Republicans like former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani and Governor George Pataki, Stern has been accused of going woke and was an infamously ardent backer of President Biden and Kamala Harris. I don't know if it's his wokeness that alienated some of his audience or if he just got tamer with age. But whatever it is, it's apparent no one wants to hear it anymore, the second staffer offered. The political U-turn was done to appease the Hollywood elite, the employee said. I think he's content to be out in there in the Hamptons with his celebrity friends, the first staffer offered. He's like being liked by famous people. That seems to be more important to him than his legacy. Some ribbed Stern, calling him Hollywood Howie, after he started hanging around with the likes of Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, Jerry Seinfeld, and John Stamos during the late 2000s and early 2010s. But since COVID, Stern's become a hermit, the second staffer said. Everyone knows he hasn't been the same since COVID. He does the show from his Southampton basement, and it's been sad to see how irrelevant he's become, the employee said. Stern has also suffered immense loss in the recent years with the deaths of his father, Ben, in 2022, his best friend and stylist, Ralph Sorella, in 2023, and his friend and agent, Don Buchwald in 2024. Fans have complained for years about the show's dwindling quality and Stern's kid gloves approach with certain guests he once would have skewered. His passion hasn't been there, and that can be infectious, the first staffer said. When your boss doesn't even seem like he wants to be there, it's like, why should I bust my ass? Stern and SiriusXM did not return requests for comment. According to the Daily Mail report, Stern might make a move to a streaming platform like Netflix or HBO Max and insists all this unknown is music to Howard's ears. He thrives in this element of the unknown, the source added. All right, so from what I heard last week, they said Stern's show was canceled and that he was going to be off the air. According to the New York Post, though, it looks more like what's really going on is that SiriusXM has looked at the numbers, they've looked at the analytics, and they've said, yeah, you don't hardly have any audience for us to justify this huge contract. So why should we keep paying it? And that's basically the gist of the story. It's the same thing that we talked about a little while back about Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is making all this money, making $20 million a year, and the company is losing $40 million. So why should they continue to pay to lose money? That's been kind of the gist of what I think is going on here between Howard Stern and SiriusXM. Sirius is basically looking at this going like, this is a loser. He was once on top, but now he's not there anymore. And why do we continue to keep paying him if he's not drawing the audience like he used to? I mean, to go from 20 million a day to 125,000, that's drastic. That's like that's like going to like, what, less than 10%, less than 1%? I don't know. It's absolutely crazy that this would happen. And I kind of agree with, because I guess they're only talking to a couple of his staffers on this, for this article. They don't name names, and I think there's a reason why is because if they were to name names, I think Howard would have fired them right on the spot. I think SiriusXM would have fired them on the spot. But yeah, to think that he's already talking about retiring. He's 71, according to the article. He's 71. He's already thinking about retirement. He's thinking about taking a step back. He hasn't left his basement. He's become this. What we would term as a COVID hermit, because when COVID hit in the beginning, there are a lot of people who just would not leave their homes. I remember, when I would run deliveries to some people's houses, they would specifically just tell me, just leave it on the doorstep. And there are times where it's like, if I had to deliver alcohol, I need identification. And they would just slap that ID right on the window, either tape it or whatever, and I have to take their word for it and get a picture of it and everything like that. But there were a lot of people who were so scared of COVID that they wouldn't even leave. They wouldn't even step outside their house. I mean, that's how crazy it got for a lot of people, and I think Howard was one of them. I remember him shouting and screaming that about if you don't get your shot, if you don't mask up, you're gonna kill people. And I think it kind of, like they said, it repelled people. I remember Howard when first of all, I remember Howard when he was on the radio, when he had all of these affiliates, and you would get up early in the morning and you would listen to Howard Stern. Sometimes they would be live, sometimes they would record it and put it out to the affiliates later. This was back at a time when him and Rush Limbaugh were battling it out on the radio. And the funny thing is that Stern decided to jump ship and go to Sirius. And Rush, even though he was approached by Sirius also, decided to stay, with his affiliates. And we can see the kind of things that's happened. Now, Rush has passed away, has long since passed away. But he, I think, gained more of a following by staying on the radio than jumping ship and going to Sirius. And Sirius, from what I remember, Sirius seriously wanted Rush. They wanted them both, is what it was. They wanted Howard on one channel. They wanted Rush on another channel. And that's the way they wanted to do it. And I guess Rush was like, no, this is how I'm doing it. This is the way I've always done it. This is the way I like to do it. And we're going to keep it that way. And apparently, Howard has decided to go over to Sirius, which is perfectly fine. Because, to jump for the paycheck is perfectly okay. I got no qualms about that. Go for it, dude. But it just seems like he kind of, as a lot of things happen, it's like when you start being accepted and liked by people, especially Hollywood types, you don't want to necessarily upset them. Because then when you go for them, hey, you want to come on my show? I'm not coming on your show. The last time I was on your show, you embarrassed me so bad. You talked about this. You wanted, and it can, it can get kind of hairy. I read something last night. Something reminded me when Dana Plato was on his show, and she was trying to get her life back together, and he just kept bringing up all the stuff from her past and all this other, and there are some people who I think consider that interview to be one of the catalysts that pushed her over the edge, and for her to take her life. If I remember correctly, I'm right off the top of my head. I can't remember if she had taken her life, if she had OD'd, but that was the catalyst that pushed her over the edge, because he kept bringing up all of this kind of, and in all intents and purposes, let's just think about it. That's what he did. You gotta kind of think about that when Howard. When you went on Howard's show, you knew some things were going to get crazy. That's the way he was. That's the way he was. But now, I think a lot of it has to do with that a lot of his fans have gotten older. He's not getting picked up or listened to by a lot of the younger crowd. They're all going to Joe Rogan, and I think some of them are now. Some of these people are actually not going to Bill Maher. These are people who are very straightforward. I don't want to say they're controversial. They're very straightforward. They believe what they believe in, and they have no problem. I remember let me just put it like this. I'm a huge fan of George Carlin, and a lot of people accuse Carlin of basically not being, very nice to Republicans and to Democrats. And he was basically like, look, I am an equal opportunity a-hole. If there is something that I think needs to be talked about, I talk about it. And that's, if he basically saw something that he thought was not right, he would talk about it, whether you were Democrat or Republican. George Carlin, I don't think really gave a rip about whether you liked him or not. He was going to do his comedy. That's the kind of feeling I got from him. Whereas it seems like, from what I'm hearing from Howard, is that Howard being called Hollywood Howie, wanting to be liked by all of these people, not wanting to offend them. Well, then, what do you plan on doing because a lot of people came to your show because you were offensive. That's what your niche was. You were offensive. And you didn't care. If you see the movie Private Parts, when he did his show, it was like, he did his show the way he wanted to do his show. And let me just make it one thing perfectly clear. It's Howard's show. He can do whatever he wants with it. He can do it however he wants with it. He can have whoever he wants on his show. But at the same time, you have to realize if you're not bringing in the audience, if your audience has decided, you know what, I'm not into this anymore, I'm going somewhere else, and you lose them, they're not likely to come back no matter what you offer. I remember I remember there was a time where he caught flack for having lesbians kiss live on camera. I mean, oh my gosh, a lesbian kiss. And people flocked to see that. And he would do it over and over again. And because that was the kind of, he knew he could get under your skin for something, he would do it. Now, apparently, from what I'm reading of this article from the New York Post, is that he's either mellowed out, which does happen with age. Usually one or two things happen with age. Either you mellow out or you get grumpy. And then there's sometimes where he's gotten grumpy, but they're saying he's pretty much mellowed out. He's not doing the things that he used to do. He's not as controversial as he was before. And, all those people who used to follow Howard have moved on to other things. They've moved on to other podcasts. They've moved on to other kind of streaming. I don't think he could move on to Netflix or HBO Max or whatever streaming platform. It doesn't make a difference. I don't think he's going to catch any kind of numbers that's going to be worth a huge contract. My advice to Howard is, you're 71, you've made all this money, dude, go retire, sit on the beach, be with your beautiful wife, and enjoy life. Enjoy life for the next 20 years. Take some time off. Go travel. See if it's real. See if having a show is really worth doing, or if it's just I don't have this show anymore, but I gotta have this. But I gotta keep myself busy. So hey, let's keep going. Let's. I'll sign with Netflix. Where is it? You realize that a lot of people have done Netflix talk shows that pretty much have just, talk to Chelsea Handler about how good her show was. And how it just didn't catch on. Especially if you're going to sit back and, just talk. Again, I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Trump. And it was if it's all hate Trump, then no one's going to watch. And you'll just be another voice in the crowd fighting for relevancy that you've probably have lost a long time ago. All right, but I just wanted to get a clarification that apparently Howard's not canceled yet. I guess they're still going to keep. I think what they're going to do, but bottom line, what they're going to do is Sirius is just going to run him to the end of his contract and not renew it. That's what's going to happen. And I think his staffers have already decided, I think a lot of them are already getting ready to jump ship. And like they said, New York City's pretty incestuous when it comes to the entertainment industry. So is Hollywood. So is Los Angeles. It's pretty incestuous. You need to get, if there's an option, you better get in now. You better, do it. You better get in now before, before the boat sets sail and you're not on it. All right. That's it for the show today. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you sticking around and listening to my opinion on this. If you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel, bang the bell for notifications, bang the bell for notifications, so you always know when new videos are uploaded. Give me a big like on the video. Let me know what you're thinking. Share us out to your friends, family, neighbors. Let them know what I'm doing on over here, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you think that Howard's going to bounce back on Netflix, or if he should just retire and enjoy the rest of his life, because that's what I think he should do. Thank you very much. I'm glad you watched the show today. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Goose. This is On With The Show. I will see you on the other side.